former AFL footballer, of course, for Essendon and Hawthorn, recruited from North Ringwood, so out my way.
You're
Fish.
yeah, there you say, yeah.
I'm out in Doncaster.
Really?
Yeah. So,
Wow, you're good stock, Tom.
This guy's so
Are you joking?
Yeah.
So I'm in good company, I didn't realise.
Yeah, exactly. Two-time VFL AFL Premiership player in 85 and 1993. All-Australian in 1997. So a few achievements. Michael Tuck medalist in 1999. Hawthorn Team of the Century as well, and inducted into the Australian Hall of Fame. So, he's probably, it's fair to say you're doing your best work in the marine life. Really,
Yes, Tom. Yeah. Well, thank you for that. It was a lovely introduction. I appreciate it. Just reminds me just how mediocre I was.
I think that's a pretty good rap.
I think you're doing better than anyone else.
If me and Mason do anything like that, we'd
I was very, very fortunate. Very fortunate. A couple of very good clubs to represent.
Kind of starting out, we obviously recruited out of North Ringwood. So what was life like back then, back in North Ringwood, back in those times, kind of leaving high school and then moving off into AFL?
Yeah, what was life like? Well, that's all I wanted to do. I'm like a lot of young blokes who grow up wanting to live the dream in sport. In my case, Aussie rules. Yes, Mason can relate to that. Because I was exceptionally tall at 15, I was already hit around 6'7" around that stage. And I had a huge growth spurt at that time, and I was not getting any competition in the local football ranks, and that's with respect to the guys I was playing against, but getting a lot of bad habits with my ruck work and stuff because I didn't have to work too hard. So a decision needed to be made about where I played my next bit of football, and without boring you too much, I went and had a training run at Paran Footy Club back when the VFA was a pretty big deal. I had a training run at Old Marcelin, and because of one of my teachers, and it was like a soft entry. It was like as a 15-year-old advance his footy without getting the everything beaten out of him. So anyway, Essendon were pretty keen to, because I was zoned to them.
Yep, of course.
Pretty keen to sort of get me and work with me. So I ended up playing under 19s. I turned 16 in January and played my first under 19s. But it was to answer your question more specifically. You're in school. You're in year 10, and there's a lot of other things going on in your life then. There's hormones are racing, parties are happening and all that sort of stuff. So a real conflict, and of course living in Ringwood, North Ringwood, travelling to Essendon wasn't very simple. There were no freeways and there was certainly no public transport. So taxis were the mode of transport. So 3 to 4 times a week it was get picked up at school, go straight to Essendon, train, come home late at night. You often get home at 10 o'clock at night. The journeys were really long. They really tested me. I remember one little quick anecdote was the first bunch of taxis that were taking some of the most talented footballers from our area out to Essendon, and I'm talking guys that were winning club best and fairest, and talking about guys that were wearing the competition best and fairest, guys that I admired even at that young age and thought, well, maybe I don't belong in these taxis. There's 14 of us in that 2-year period, and there's only myself and Peter Banfield, who was a good mate of mine, who lived locally with me as well, that actually made league footy. Now these guys are more than capable, but for various reasons, it's just the burden of the travel and the what was required was too much. But then you lose friends. I don't have, and this is an admission I've never made before, I don't have a friend from school in my life now because I had to give that up. There was no going out on the weekends because I'm playing everywhere on the weekends as a young bloke. So there was a sacrifice to be made even as a young fella back then. And
so do you think that was necessary for you to become an AFL footballer, to actually sacrifice that stuff during that period of time, or?
Never know, but I didn't have much choice, and a lot of the stuff my mates were enjoying doing didn't really fit well with what I was trying to achieve. So it was nothing personal. It's just like choices you make. I made some pretty big ones at that age, 15, 16, and I had to make a few really big ones by the time I was 20, so it wasn't foreign to me to do it. But the other question, if I could be bold, is do I regret it? No, I did the right thing, and I'm happy with it. But
You'd have to grow up pretty quick, 15, 16, thrown into it's baptism by fire pretty much to get to an AFL club, and I'm sure the culture there would have been a bit of a shock, especially at that age. And I'm interested to know, what did your mom and dad think of the whole thing? Were they worried about sending you off to this, this boys' club of Essendon and a few boys around, and you never know what's going to happen? And what was their kind of idea of what was going to go on? I mean, obviously it's a huge commitment by you, and also the family as far as having you go out there and do that every single day, a lot of travel. But what was their idea of? Was mom worried?
If they were, they'd never really said anything, Mason. So it's like, for me, it was a natural progression, and I think they were they were certainly very supportive.
Yep.
There was some big moments for me. I mean, that first shower you have at the footy club when you're 15, turning 16, that is a big moment, because up until then, and I know not many are going to believe me, we showered with our jocks on in junior footy. Like, we never really nuded up in that environment. But now I'm in with all these, and I'm in now in a shower with my heroes. Like, there's Tim Watson, and I'm looking across, there's Simon Madden next to me, and there's Roger Merritt, and there's these, and I'm pinching myself because I don't really, obviously don't feel like I belong yet. Plus, I've got a really small dick, and this was just overwhelming for me. So the first thing you do in a I did.
It's one big room with a bunch of shower heads.
You've got to scope the locker room, you know. I've got to say, before you have your first.
Did you put any sunnies on and just sort of go right? What's going on here?
Well, I had
just to not be.
Well, I found a couple of blokes, Tom, that were similarly advanced as myself, and I timed my showers really well after that. And humility was a thing you learn pretty quickly in footy clubs. You know, you just got to. There's a pecking order. Certainly back in the 80s, there's always a pecking order and a process. But no, Mum and Dad were fine. A highlight of my 15th year of my life was playing state footy and going to play Carnival in Darwin. And I played with Gary Pert in that team. I played with Steve Hocking in that team. And a few other guys, which was great fun. It was weather really hot, really humid. August, wet season, just coming in out of the dry season. Anyway, it was a really challenging carnival. It was the same week that Azaria Chamberlain got snatched out of the tent at AS Rock. So it was all amazing things happening at that time. And so my memories from that period were, grow up fast. I was on a fast track to get where I wanted to go, and I know it sounds a little bit much for a kid my age, but there's nothing sort of getting in my way. And Mum and Dad were certainly not going to be the two that did that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There you go.
Interesting. What were those first few years like? Like, obviously you would have took some time to kind of settle in and grow as a young man.
Yeah.
Once you kind of felt like you were part of the football club, what kind of was the journey from there? How did you feel? How did you take on that path that should be quite a good footballer?
Great people around the club. I kind of didn't really feel like I felt a part of it until I was well into my senior career, but because you're always hungry, you're always sort of aiming for that next goal. Unless you're playing senior footy, I'm not sure any bloke really feels they're a genuine part of the club. Yeah. You feel a part of the club per se, you know. There's people who are warm and take you under their wing and stuff. Yep. 17 playing reserves footy was a really challenging year. Now I'm playing against, back then reserves football wasn't like it is now. You got a lot of 29, 30 plus year olds who are really angry that they're not playing senior footy. We don't carry, they were carrying a mix. And there was only a handful of younger blokes. So I played my reserves footy with Bomber Thompson, Mark Harvey and these guys. But I was getting smashed. Yeah. Like, I'm just a tall, lanky kid. I'm a baby, really. Yeah. And the other ruckmen from the other clubs, I was a soft target, really. But it taught me a lot of resilience around that. And so it was a very rapid learning curve. I remember, again, a quick anecdote, one three-quarter time huddle, a guy named Anton Grabak that worked at the AFL for a long time, and he played footy at Essendon. Anton Grabak?
Anton Grabak, yeah.
I'm not sure if you...
Vic Metro.
Yeah. Well, he was a teammate, and he came over to one three-quarter time once, and he goes, "How you holding up?" And I'm 17, I go, "Tough day." And he goes, "I should have done this at quarter time." And you hear these stories a lot, so I'm not unique. Yeah. He said, I'll give you a chop out. And he centre bounce, he come right off the back of the square, centre half back. And I thought my opponent was dead. I actually thought he died. He hit him that hard, it was like straight down the middle. Yeah. And I was so relieved. The relief I had, because I didn't have it in me to do it myself, and I didn't have the technique to do it myself. Yeah. So anyway, that was a fast learning curve. Then I'm not going to go year by year, but 18 was even more interesting because now I'm playing my first senior games. Yep. And that was I got, I won't taunt you. There's really some interesting stuff happened that year. But I played a lot of reserves. I played 9 senior games that year, the rest in reserves, and we ended up beating Collingwood in a premiership and grand final in 1983 in the reserves. But Kevin Morris, who was a great Collingwood player, he was a coach. He made a comeback to football halfway through that year. It might be a bit pretentious of myself to suggest it was just for me, but he could see what was happening. Even my teammates, who the ones who thought they should be playing senior footy and were playing midfield, all wanted their piece of the action. So I was trying to balance out the feed. But I'm only still a baby. So Kevin Morris could see what was going on, and he came back and he played ruck rover for the second half of the year right next to me.
Yep.
And he was heading everything off at the pass for me, Tom. He was very physical guy.
Yep.
So he really had my back.
So everyone was trying to be best mates with you because they sort of.
What? Yeah, that's right. But they were also hooking into me a fair bit. I was getting ripped to shreds by teammates who I wasn't flushing it down their chest or something. So, but it was a learning curve. I'm a young ruckman, and Simon Madden's been a fantastic mentor at that time. He was trying to bring me on, but that's another story. So anyway, we go through, and in '83 was a spectacular, because that was the launching pad for what happened in '84 for me. That was the maturing, and that was my body. That was the confidence.
Yep.
And I largely thank Kevin Morris for that, because he just nurtured that out of me for that second half of the year. We won the premiership, and I got best on ground in the grand final that day in the reserves premiership, which was a long way from where I was 12 months before.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a certain point, I think, in your career where you have one or two games, I think you just feel like you belong.
Yeah.
And it's that time where you kind of flick that switch and you go, you know what, like, I don't need to necessarily look up to these guys. I'm on par with these guys, and I'll fit into here. And I think it's that point where your career really starts to take off.
Yeah.
I'm sure probably at 18, 19, you were probably feeling that. And it's this groove you get into of just confidence of knowing you can go out there and perform on the biggest stage. And
Well, look, you're right, Mason. And I learned that as a big guy, it wasn't my role. It wasn't my role to be passive or to allow traffic past.
Yeah.
My role was to meet the footy, and if anyone got in that path, then it was at their peril. And I wasn't good at hurting blokes like other blokes were, but I still had the same mentality. And when I trained in the '83, I lost a friend at that stage. He took his own life in that time, and I just couldn't believe the waste. But I didn't understand that suicide back then was not something we were really familiar with, and the way it happened was something I'd never kind of encountered before. It was such a planned thing. And he and I were catching taxis to and from, so I spent a lot of time with him. I say that because I felt that what he did was so sad and so tragic, but at the same time such a waste, that I wanted to make up for that. There was a sense of sort of filling that gap, and that was the mental approach to that '83, '84 summer. And I went into '84 with a very strong sense of I'm ready.
Too much sleep a bit and playing for something bigger than yourself.
Put some weight on. She'd said you're not coming out of the gym until you learn to love it. Like seriously, I didn't know like I was avoiding as a kid, but it's just the travelling was so hard.
Yeah.
And the time constraints, and there was guys wanting to get in a taxi and go, and I've still got work to do. But so she's picked up on that. And again, very briefly, he said, "You're not coming out of the gym until you love it." Well, I started to see a chest, and I started to see an arm and a shoulder appear out of nowhere, and that was pretty cool. And then I did my knee in '84, and I ended up buying a gym 6 months later. And he came past, he said, "I can see you love the
gym so much."
It was cool.
Interesting. So if you were to reflect on your career, what would be some of the highlights, years, moments? Obviously, winning premierships is kind of what everyone plays for. But what else kind of happened throughout your career that you kind of look back on and be fond of?
Well, I'm very spoilt, very fulfilled footballer. I'm so happy that I retired with no gaps. I felt like the game allowed me to get everything I could, out of it and out of myself. Certainly as a player, I'd like to have time back again, because I felt like I was my own worst enemy, and I could have done a lot more damage as a player. But you don't cruel yourself over that. You just learn from those periods and apply them even later in your career and stuff. But the highlights, certainly that '83 year, there was nothing to anybody else. It was just something to me. There was a game, I came on at quarter time, and Ron Andrews, who was a very intimidating man, was still playing at Essendon, and he came off and I came on for him. And I kicked 6 in the last 3 quarters, but Robert Di just cleaned me up on my first lead, because I was savouring the moment. I took this chest mark and I strutted for a few steps, and he just straight down the middle. The back of the head was the first thing to hit the ground. But then you got a team with guys like Merv Nagel and Steve Carey and all these other blokes, and they just rush in and they do all your dirty work for you and stuff. So you got little memories like that which are really treasured for a lot of ways, because they develop you. The '84. Was good for the goals in the first half of the year, and how I went from a tall, believe it or not, very unattractive man with skin issues and no girls talking to him, and being at the back of the queue at pubs and stuff, literally, to being at the back of the queue and the security guy looking out down there and going and waving me up, and I'd go into the clubs. Now I'm getting what they call a drink card.
Yeah.
I'm sure they still exist.
Yeah.
And I've got in.
We're not so lucky.
No, it doesn't work. Don't work like that. No.
They were highlights, and girls started to
sure.
talk to me too, which is great. And I found I could actually hold a conversation with one, which was even more great.
Classy women.
But missing the '84 premiership was it hurt a lot,
Yeah.
because of the knee. But getting back in '85, and I've told the story a few times about '85, but I was nowhere around. I came back in the reserves right on the day I planned to come back, and I kicked 10 in the reserves, and it was, in retrospect, probably the worst thing I ever did in my career, because it had expectations set back here, where coming back from such an injury, which at that stage, no one had really, they'd come back from them, but re-injured. So I was just walking on eggshells, not knowing how much football I had in me.
Yeah.
So I got 10 that first game back, and she's put me straight in the ones to play Collingwood at Victoria Park, which is a side I did my knee against the year before at the same ground. So it was a real psychological jump for me to play a game, and heap of scar tissue. The old knee reconstructions were pretty nasty, so I had trouble. But then I played reserves for the rest of the year. It was round 21, right? 22 games in a year, round 21. Round 20, I didn't get a kick in the reserves. I hadn't had a kick. Seriously, probably had one kick. My stat sheet was donuts for like 3 or 4 weeks. And I literally thought I'd forgotten how to play footy. And she's picked me up at the gym, which I own, and took me to a park called Gels Park.
Yeah.
And I tell her, I put some mayonnaise in the story sometimes about going with a middle-aged guy to a park in a red Celica and stuff, and how much I'd do anything for a game. And anyway, that's another angle of the story.
That's one way to say it.
But he said to me, he said, how you feeling? I said, I've forgotten how to play. I actually think I've forgotten how to play footy. I can't get near it. And cut a long story short, he said, I'm going to make a deal with you.
Yeah.
And he said, do you realise you're 6'9"? When you come to training, people notice. I said, okay. No, I didn't realise. And he said, so the deal is, you come to training, you look like you want to be there. Put your shoulders back, lift your head, because you're dragging the place down. We're going into September now, and you're just, don't look like you want to be there. I said, that's fair enough. And it was very selfish in hindsight, because I thought I'm going to miss another one. Anyway, he said, if you do that for me, you come and train the house down. I don't care what happens between now and the last week of September. If we make it, if we get there, I'll play you.
Wow.
So that was a deal.
Wow.
I thought, wow, what an amazing thing to happen.
Yeah.
So I strutted out to the footy club that night, and I did train the house down, by my standards, which wasn't very good anyway. Did as well as I could. I went out and kicked 11 that week in the twos. So the mental side of the game was just really highlighted to me just how much it dominates or dictates terms so often. And then he put me in the ones the next week of the last game against Sydney. In Sydney, I got 7. Mm-hmm. And then the premiership was special. Yeah. And then 93, and I'm just going to keep going. 93 was great, because that was a young side. Yeah. That was a young side, came from nowhere, came from the clouds. 1990 was shithouse. Yeah. Getting beaten by Collingwood in a grand final. Really, the real highlight of my career was going to Hawthorn.
Yeah.
That was the highlight. Finding that club, them finding me, a club I barracked for as a kid. Yeah. Meeting my heroes.
Pretty special.
And being able to, and this is going to sound a little bit pretentious, but being able to do what I did at 31, between 31 and 35, I'm enormously proud of that. Yeah. And then getting to go back to Essendon at 37, after she's told me I was knackered at 30, was satisfying. Yeah. But still haunts me to this day, because I don't know whether I should have done it. But I'm glad I did. Yeah. Okay. I know it sounds like a contradiction. No,
why did you have any hesitation?
Well, I was happy to be. I love my time. I had no gripes with Essendon, and I love my time there. I'd spent 16 years of my life there as a 15-year-old to 30. So, and roughly, but yeah, I felt that the best 5 years of my life was at Hawthorn, although it wasn't necessarily a successful period. We worked hard to come out of the merge. We overachieved in a couple of those seasons, my personal reward for that was stunning, and they helped me love the game again. Yeah. And they helped my family fall in love with the game again. Yeah. Remembering that was only, me going to Hawthorn was only weeks after I got booed off by 60,000 Essendon fans on my own team. I mean, they just didn't boo me off. I mean, it was vitriol. It was like, and my mum and dad and my family were sitting amongst that, my kids. Wow. So, but I learnt when I was getting carried off on a stretcher on Victoria Park in 1984. Yeah. When I'm getting spat on by Collingwood supporters, which happened, and that's okay. You did not expect it back then. Yeah. That it's not personal. Like
True.
they're not spitting on me, they're spitting on the jumper.
Yeah.
So I always tried to separate that,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
and that helped me a lot to survive, you know.
Yeah.
And so I was always a bit of a survivor like that.
Mhm.
But Hawthorn was just such a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that was a highlight.
Did you come across a guy by the name of Anthony Phillips? when you were
Yeah, the flip, absolutely,
Yeah.
The genius fitness instructor.
My father was is Anthony Phillips. So there you go. He also, you know that?
No.
No.
We're having a moment here.
Yeah. But
Why
you
did
were-
I know that?
So what?
I
So
did not
you're-
understand why you're such a terrible person, Tom.
Yeah, exactly. So you were at Essendon from 1985.
Exactly what he was
till-
thinking.
81 I arrived,
80,
and
yeah.
I left in 95.
So he was also there for I reckon 2 or 3 years playing in
Yeah,
the VFL.
yeah. I knew him when I got to Hawthorn.
Yeah.
He was pretty lightly built.
Yeah, you're right, little
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah, that's
super
right.
forward. There you go.
Overrated himself too much at the time. I thought.
Yeah, okay. I'll let you
No, he's a good
I'll
man.
let
He's
you
a
know.
great man. Before he goes, really.
Yeah, I will.
Well, now I've got a connection to you. Tom.
How was
There you go.
quickly? How was he at Hawthorn? Because I know that him and Bowden Babicek was also.
Yeah, well, I tell you, Bowden rebuilt me because of all the injuries I had. I after the '93 grand final, Silvani kicked the back of my heel in the first seconds of the game.
Yep.
And slowly during that game, my Achilles was shutting down. In the end, I could hardly jump. And then I played. It settled well. I couldn't even celebrate that night because my leg blew up. And I went away. Everyone just said it will settle down, and it didn't. And then at the end of the next year, at '94, I had a reconstruction of the Achilles, and then I had my hernia done, double. And I got to Hawthorn, and they took a big risk on me.
Yeah.
So, but my whole mechanics, my body went up. You know, and going the wrong direction. So Bowden taught me how to run again. The boys really listened. They individualised my training program as much as they could. They were very smart about it. In fact, they coached me because at 34, I'm wanting and being asked to play again, signing a 2-year contract to take me through to 35. They said, "How do you want to train?" So now we're starting to really interact on how you want to prepare.
Yeah.
So no, they're really good. And I said, "Don't train me to play footy next year. Train me to do my shoelaces up when I'm 60." Right? So the instructions just totally changed. And they were good. The boys. I actually was blessed. This is going to sound like hard to believe, but I was blessed to fall into their hands when I did because really
Nice.
changed.
Obviously-
We've also had Bowden as a
Have you?
previous guest as well.
We have.
Boardroom, so.
He's a ripper.
There you go. He's a ripper. He's
He's
a
a
different cat.
He's a very
He's
good cat.
good.
He's a great
He's a
one.
good cat. Yeah.
Obviously, football, massive part
Yeah.
of your life. Obviously, that transition out of football is always a conversation with most athletes in my sports anyway. What was that journey like? Because obviously you've now moved off into the world of business and all of that.
Yeah.
Have you found, obviously that transition, but have you found correlation between the two worlds?
Undoubtedly, yeah. There is. As with football and business, you set the ultimate objective. You know, what are you trying to achieve? What are you putting to market, and is it something the market wants in the first place?
Yep.
And how are you going to scale that? And I think scaling is very similar to how you, as an individual, scale yourself and evolve as a footballer. Because I never like to go out and represent. Although to everyone else in the world, when they watch you play footy over your career, nothing might change. But I always had fun. I tried to enjoy shifting it up a little bit. And one year being stronger than the last, the next year being having more endurance than the previous. So I had another weapon that maybe the opposition wasn't expecting, or power. So I, as a big bloke, had fun with that. Business is similar. You're always addressing where the change needs to be made. So I bought my first business at 17, which is my mum. I put in a cafe, made money out of that, which was great. Then I bought the gym. The gym was an interesting one because I was a bit selfish. I wanted to train as much as I could and get the need back up, and that's where I met my wife, who been married now 32 years. So that was a good win. Thanks. Made a that was a pretty quick pro quo sort of business.
Yep.
Tough business, gyms. And then I started a hospitality business. I packaged events.
Yep.
In Melbourne for from about '93 to 2000.
Yep.
Sold out of that. Didn't make a lot of money when I sold, but I made money,
Yep.
so it was good, and made a living out of it. It was fun.
Yeah.
I had fun playing with events. Like we've got the Australian Open on at the moment, and I was pretty bold with that. This is going to. I sat down with the marketing guy because he said, "How many tickets do you want to the finals?" I said, "I actually don't want tickets to the finals. Clarkie. He goes, what do you have to? He said, everyone wants that.
Yeah.
It was back at a time when there was a lot of scams happening with tickets.
Yeah,
you know,
fair.
and there was a big issue at that point. And I said, no, I'd like to have a fun with the first week.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, you're mad. And I said, well, I might be mad.
But I want to.
I said, I've got Paul McNamee and the two Supermax.
Yeah.
I said, they're going to meet some of my groups, and could I have a marquee out there on the concrete or something like that?
Yeah.
And I said, I think you're missing an opportunity. I mean, I'm sure they're getting this feedback from a lot of corners. So I'm just one agitator at the time. But I said, I reckon the first week has got huge scope for a festival, carnival. Just build it.
100%.
All the players
Crowds
are
are
here.
huge that way.
Yeah, the punters I'm bringing in can't afford to go to the finals, mate. So they'll want to come the first week, take their chances on who they can see on the outside courts and have some fun. And it's great to see how it's evolved into that. So I had a lot of fun trying to change the way we approach things. I did something really cool at the Spring Racing Carnival for a few years, which they shut me down on because it was a bit too successful, which is natural to do. You know, I just took advantage of little loopholes because the car park back then wasn't licensed to the contractors. So all the on-course contractors, like Harry the Hire and the caterers and stuff, you had to use them, but off-course you didn't back then. So I was just doing contras left, right, and centre. Got this great marquee up on a bit of grass. I only had 70 people year one, but in year 3 I had 800. And I introduced golf carts. I used blokes. I didn't even need them. I had blokes in tuxedos at the front gate, showing my people in. They felt special, and they were getting ferried from the marquee to the front gate. And they felt like, when they're sober, they've been embarrassed. Late in the day, they loved it. So I introduced some stuff into the races which hadn't been seen before. And of course, because I was successful, they shut me down. They just extended all the contracts, so I was out of that. But I had fun with that. And then, then when I retired, I started a company called Premium Brands Group, which I built a company which we had anywhere between 80 to 100 category exclusive businesses, so they're non-competing, and we did a lot of collaboration and a lot of marketing and branding and advertising connection. I became sort of a connector by accident. So built great networks around the country, and that was it was good.
On that, do you think for people that are listening, do you think developing a skill around networks and the ability to network as something important or something you seen important to your career?
I think it's invaluable. Relationships in life are always invaluable. I don't care how smart, what I've learned in business, I don't care how smart that person is or smarter than me. Usually it's a relationship that's launched or got them the opportunity they've got. They have to be smart to leverage that and make it work, right? But relationships are the cornerstone of everything you'll do post-football.
It's a classic, like,
I believe that.
It's not what you know sometimes, it's about who you know.
Yeah, and I think even when it comes to the what you know, you've used who you know to learn what you know.
Yeah,
correct.
So mentors are important. So but I chose my path, which was this entrepreneurial path and stuff. So that's not everyone's cup of tea.
No.
And there was mistakes I made. I lost money. I made some money. But you learn when you're using your money out of your own pocket. You learn pretty quickly, And then my first lesson away from football was about brand. One of my mentors was a guy named Mike Williamson. Now Mike's not well; he's in a facility down Bayside, but he was the Eddie Maguire of the 70s and the 80s, right? In Melbourne Tonight, he did all the Bruce McAvaney kind of guy, right? And I rang him up. I got my first. I think I'm about 19. I'm starting to get goals, so now the phone's starting to ring. At home, we didn't have mobiles, and you get messages from the club, a bit of paper saying call this bloke back. I called this bloke back, and he said I'm from XYZ footy club in the country. And he said we're having a sportsman's night. And I'd heard of these things, but I didn't know what they hadn't seen one before. I hadn't been one. He said, and I'm working in the bank, so I'm earning $300 a week, I reckon. In the bank back then wasn't much. 275 or something like that. And he said, I said, okay, he said, we'd love you to come up, we'll pay you 500 cash. And I just did exactly that. I went silent. I go, really? He goes, yeah. I said, when is it? We worked it out. I said, yeah, I'll do it. 500 cash. I was so excited, I rang Mike up, right? And I said, Mike, I'm pumped, mate. I got a call. I'm doing a sportsman's night. My first at a sporty. And he goes, oh, okay, great. I said, yeah, I'm getting paid $500, mate. That's more than I get paid in a week. Probably a fortnight's pay. And he goes, who's on it? Who's on the panel? And I go, I'm excited because of 500. I said, I don't know. I'm getting paid 500. Didn't you hear me? Didn't you hear me? And he goes, Paul, he said, ring him back. Tell him, unfortunately, you can't accept the gig until you know who's on the panel. And I go, why is this such an issue, Mike? And he goes, always ask who you're sitting next to, because you'll be measured by that, by the audience. Right. I was he said, your brand is the most important thing to you right now. So I just never forgot that conversation. And I always made sure that who I worked with, whether it was media or
Yep.
sportsmen, I always knew I was with.
Yep.
It's just that sometimes by implication you can be
Yeah.
measured by that person next to you, or
Yeah.
you can be seen to be compliant in some of their decisions. So that was a brand. So brand has always been the cornerstone of what I've tried, because I don't have a tool belt. I didn't go to TAFE. I don't have a degree from university. So
Yeah.
brand is what I have,
Yep.
and my relationships are what I have,
Yep.
and my ability to bring something to market and make it work through those mechanisms is what I have. And what I'm doing today is the most exciting thing I've done in my life right now today. I'm just really engaged with it. I'm passionate about it, and I'm sure you'll probably ask me about it.
Yeah.
But it's a culmination.
Yeah. So obviously, kind of leading straight into that, Asgissi, is that how you pronounce it? How do you pronounce
Yeah,
it
no, that's right.
properly?
It was designed to stuff you up on the pronunciation.
Sounds like a Japanese alcohol.
That's what I thought. I was like,
Sounds
Paul, what are you
like
getting into?
Yeah.
Well, no, it's Asgissi. It's a Greek word for exercise, physical
Okay,
activity. Right?
perfect.
And so I'll try to keep this as
Go for it.
abbreviate. My wife is, it's going to sound a little biased, but she's in the top couple of researchers in the world in children's physical activity. She's a director or co-director of the Institute of Physical Activity and Nutrition at Deakin, which is part of the School of Exercise Science, which are ranked #1 in the world. The only university and school in this country to ever be ranked #1 in the world for what they do. So very successful group of people. Obviously I admire my wife, what she's done. I don't understand it. I couldn't research. It's just what those people are able to do. And anyway, Mutual Admiration Society. So her research is fascinating. She pioneered with a bunch of colleagues effects of passive to moderate movement on children in the classroom, but they didn't have the tools, and I promise you to keep it short. So in the commercial space, you've got height adjustable desks going nuts, $1 billion industry, right?
Huge.
In schools, education, you've got none. They did 2 years ago, you had none. So they're buying tables, they're buying chairs. We're teaching our kids to be sedentary. We're dropping them off at school, we're putting them behind tables and chairs,
Yep.
and we're giving them tablets to play with.
Yep.
So now we've got the most sedentary generation in the history of mankind.
Yep.
We're getting fatter, we're getting more heart disease, we're getting more diabetes, and it's a lot is because of the behaviours we learn when we're children.
But at least there's heaps of Fortnite, so they
Yes.
people are going to keep entertained. So.
Yes, exactly.
Apparently
And
that's a
fast
good
food.
thing. Yeah. Anyway.
So this has been a passion of Joe's and mine, my wife.
Yeah.
It intrigued me because I was having a bit of a hiatus from what I'd done after. I'd done some stuff with in India, China, and Middle East with waste to energy technology for about 7 years. So I was having a break after all that, and so I investigated this, did some market analysis, and it just really surprised me. The market wasn't quite ready because schools have budget issues and buying height adjustable desks, which is more than a table. But the principle and the whole premise behind what we're trying to do, or what was being to market, had legs. The US were much more advanced, starting to buy a lot more of this sort of product, and that was my primary target. So I've got a great product. The height adjustable desk for kids, and we use it. Companies use it for hot desking and stuff. It's really cool. I'm really proud of that. But the roadmap alongside that was technology. So technology is a great reason, or great part of the cause. Why children spend 70% of their day sitting down nowadays. It's why 1 in 7. It's not solely why, but it's a reason why. Part of the reason why 1 in 7 have got mental health problems. It's why 1 in 4 are overweight or obese. It's why only 2 in 10 kids in Australia today are getting the prescribed amount of physical activity in a week.
Wow.
So what do you do about it? And of course, anxiety is soaring as well, anxiety level. So this is the serious part of the chat, and I'm inspired by this. I think if we can actually create change at the coalface, at the real heart of it, then that'd be a really cool thing to do.
So what's the ripple effect from that?
So what we've done
change
is
from kids sitting down to kids standing up or moving up and down.
Yeah.
What's the ripple effect from there?
Well, it's a life habit.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to change. It becomes normal to move, to change posture. Sitting down's been normalised for these kids. So I've just finished piloting this technology that did in California in December, Australia and Victoria here. I'm really excited about where it's at. Partnered a group called Lifetiles, headquartered in New York, but a couple of Australian guys they're ASX listed. They're a great AI company. So so this technology measures. It's a box. The pilot was a box that sits on the desk. And it measures movement up, down, around the classroom. It measures proximity to other kids. So connectivity, socialisation in the classroom. It measures mood, so kids get to input their mood, how they're feeling any time of any given time of the day, and it measures ambience like light, temperature, that sort of thing. So, and the artificial intelligence does the analytics, so it actually overlays all this data and starts to build a profile around this individual. And there's lots of patterns you pick up.
Yeah.
If there's a young fella, Jaden's coming in after lunch 3 times a week and he's pressuring anxious, is that because of the classroom he's about to go into, or is it because something's happening in the playground to Jaden? So kids don't communicate necessarily how they're feeling very easily. So that's what we're doing. We're getting amazing data from this. It's early days. We've got some more pilots we're running now.
Yep.
I'm finding this, with the people we're working with, it's quite inspiring. The technology, that part of the world. We'll bring it to market this year, I reckon.
Nice. Has it always been a focus on students, or have you always had an interest in that, or is that something that's just kind of?
Well, there's a very altruistic angle to this, which is my wife's research and change the world from the start. Rather than try and change people who are set in their ways. Kids are very receptive. They love this box on their desk, which really surprised. It might not come to market as a box on the desk, but that's what it was. And the principals and teachers were surprised. They're saying they really genuinely surprised, if not shocked, that the kids were actually inputting their mood and telling them how they feel. This is insight you can get into a student. You take months, if not years, for teachers to get. And then you get handed over to a new teacher in primary school in particular each year. So, no, look, it's a sore road to travel. But I have grander plans around this, certainly in the aged care space, certainly in the workplace. I mean, we learnt last year the stat that less than 2% of people tell their boss how they're feeling. We're dealing with growing rates of depression. We're dealing with all these sort of serious issues. If we can help people communicate, and whether that's a bit of technology that says, tell me how you're feeling.
Communicate honestly as well. Not just sort of when you do ask, how are you? It's you get the cliche sort of I'm okay, but what does okay mean?
Well, that's right. But almost sort of not unwittingly, but over time they'll provide the feedback, and our technology will tell their story. And it'll be hopefully a strong enough story that can help those individuals that are struggling much earlier in the process, not when it's too late. Some pretty powerful conversations have been had around what this potentially could achieve. But right now it's so early, but we're excited. We're talking about a whole range of scenarios about how this might look and where it applies in the market. But I think right now, schools education globally is something that I'm really connected to, and I hope we can get it stuck there, and we'll see where it takes us. But
it's a great idea. I think opening up those conversations, especially like you talk about, a lot of times you get a new teacher every single year, and whenever you have statistical data of like, okay, well this person might be usually a 5 on a Wednesday of how he's feeling or whatever, like you have this idea of kind of how the student is before you even really meet him.
Well, imagine historically if you knew that Mason really stressed out around test time, more than any other kid. This young Mason's just really
specialises it.
Well, it does. It can tailor it a bit more, and so Gonski reports talk about tailoring classes. The really innovative schools out there are starting to ask the students to be more involved at how they want to learn. Geelong Grammar are doing amazing things. Some private schools, independent schools are doing some cool. Even some government schools are doing some cool stuff. So we're not saying we're the sole. I'm certainly not suggesting we're the sole answers, but I'm excited by the prospect of being a part of that shift and part of that change, and a technology that can actually be really constructive and provide, build that profile in time. So that was a serious bit.
That's all right. Probably another question. I think it's a question that's kind of come up a fair bit that we asked, and it's probably more an opinion question than anything else. We all use technology and different forms of technology here and there, and the conversation of like, our phone's terrible and social and all of that. Do you feel that we're just not utilising technology in the right way at the moment? Like you talk about using technology in a pretty unique way in terms of looking after kids and how they're feeling and all of that. Do you think we're just not applying this incredible technology in the right framework or context?
Well, I'm sure there's elements of it, but I'm going to come clean. I'm not the best bloke to answer that question because I'm a pretty simple guy. I'm not I'm actually masquerading as a tech entrepreneur right now, but it's relationships. Come back to what I was saying before. It's enabled me to get to where I am now with this solution, and it's all about well-being. And I'm sure there's amazing technologies out there today, Jaden, that are underutilised.
Yep.
I know of amazing technologies that haven't got to market.
Yeah.
Because unless they can be commercialised appropriately, they won't get there. People aren't interested in backing them.
No.
Because so we are a little bit inhibited by the virtue of the fact everyone wants to make $1 at the end of the day.
True.
Even I've got to prove my commercial value around this product. I mean, otherwise it will never see the light of day.
No,
so I think the answer to your question is yes. I
Yeah.
think so, and I think what's coming up with artificial intelligence will blow people's minds. How much of it actually becomes a staple part of our daily life is yet to be seen. I certainly don't have the answer to that.
Yeah.
But, it's pretty cool being an outsider looking in right now and seeing what's happening and with the fresh eyes.
Yeah.
I'm just going, wow.
Yeah.
It's actually, in parts, it's a bit scary, but also exciting to see how our lives will change over the next 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, interesting. Did you always think you were going to get into this stuff, leaving football? Because obviously you do the gym and all that. But
No, I never thought too much, mate. No. I'm not a good role model.
Just walking.
No, I love
just figure it out later.
I think the common thread, apart from the gym, the common thread in my life is I've created everything I've done.
Yeah.
I don't buy businesses. I generally create it and build it. I'm a startup nut, which is a concern to me. It means I've got issues I should have had dealt with a long time ago, because nothing's more risky than a startup.
Absolutely.
And everyone who's done one knows that. The percentage of ones that fail are significant. And I've had ones that have failed, but not failed from a conceptual viewpoint or from an execution viewpoint, but just failed in the terms that I didn't sell the business for the multiples I was hoping for, or that sort of stuff. So it depends on how you want to judge failure sometimes.
Yeah.
And often we're too ready to judge things as failures without looking a little more deeply into it. So no, I'm proud of what I've done, and I've certainly right now today, I don't know if I've got another startup in me. They take enormous energy, and enormous passion and belief, and a certain I suppose, mental state that should be questioned. Yeah, seriously. But I'd say to football, I'd say to guys coming out of the game that, coming back to that first question you asked about the similarities, is you can't stop backing yourself. Yeah. You just can't stop. You're encouraging football to back yourself and to be instinctive. I'm doing a course at the moment with a lovely woman, and I was always intrigued by intuition. Like we say, it was a gut feel. Well, how did you make that decision? It was a gut feel. I just said, well, what is that? What is that? I was kind of trying to understand more about it. Even at my age now, it just intrigued me, and I wanted to learn more about intuition. So I'm actually doing something at the moment, which is how do I tap in? How do I connect with myself better to understand that? Because I don't think I've trusted myself enough at times. So I want to get better at that. So that's really insightful for me too, to learn that. That you can read that. About yourself. Yeah. So keep on backing yourself. Yep. You certainly need to have some conviction about what you do. Wandering through, it's not everyone's cup of tea to go full bore at something else. But in time you're gonna.
It's almost like when Kevin Sheedy took you to the park and had a chat to you and said, hold your head high, lift your shoulders back, so no matter how bad you're sort of going or how you feel you're going, like you just gotta keep turning up, and
people still believe in you.
All those startups that you said that you started or and didn't quite push through that wall, and the ones that are now on their way. It's sort of like you've just kept that sort of attitude that you've had for many years throughout your footy career, and now
it's good observation, mate. I've had great fun. I've done well. I've failed. But I used to be embarrassed about that. It doesn't embarrass me anymore. I'm proud of having a crack, but I don't expect the next bloke to be like me and want to follow that path. But I like to see that sparkle in the eyes of someone transitioning out of sport. If the light goes out because you're losing something, I think you're gaining. You're gaining all that wealth of experience you've got as a footballer, as an athlete, that day in, day out grind and slog, that mental challenge to present yourself on a football field and hopefully have that emotional consistency that you're after week in, week out, which I didn't have for periods of my career, for a whole host of different reasons. So, you learn and you apply. That's the only fools don't. The fools are the ones who don't learn and don't apply going forward. So, it's I got smacked enough in my footy career. You read my bio and it's great, but and I'm proud of it. But there's times when I go, goodness me, I don't know why I continue to play. because the game just tried to get rid of me so many times that I just, and I'm not being all sully about it. I love my career, I love my life. I'm a very lucky man, but on balance, even my beloved footy club, Essendon, I don't mean to pop them. It's like I had a great time. It was a great club, great mates, but they forgot my 200th game. Right, this is my last year before I went to Hawthorn.
Whoa.
So I think I'm the only guy in the history of the game to get a 200+1 banner, right? But that was the nature of where I was at the time.
That's incredible.
I not only felt invisible at the club, I thought I was convinced it was real.
Yeah.
That now I'm taken for granted. I've been here so long.
Yeah.
That there's just an expectation that I'll show up.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
I'll hopefully have the occasional good game and do my
yeah.
job.
Yeah,
But something needed to happen. Something was coming apart at that stage. So. No, you get smacked around. I just the resilience you learn in football is really cool for post life, and so that you should be able to back yourself in.
Yeah.
And it's that attitude that hopefully whenever we end and move on from this competition is that it's all been a positive, and it's not something that you have to miss because that's the only thing you have in your life. There's so much more out there.
Well, you got a lot of living to do, Tom.
Of a football club, you know what I mean? That's the more that people can see that and actually realistically live that and breathe that. When they have their time off, their downtime, when they're outside of the four walls, it's probably going to help them on the field as well when they have a clear head and a fresh mind.
Perspective's always been my favourite. This is getting deep. It's always been my favourite word.
Yeah.
Perspective. If once you feel you know the understanding or know the meaning of that word, you're going to be okay. You can actually take a breath, relax, and enjoy your life.
Yeah.
Because I not to sound too deep, I got a phone call from a guy who used to be a trainer at Hawthorn, and he calls me every now and then. He's living up in Queensland now, and he lost his wife last year, and he's always asked my mum, because my mum's having a battle at the moment too. And I said, Mum's great. She's got great perspective. She's 80 and she knows the great life she's had, and she knows that she's got a great chance now to live how she wants to live until the day comes and all that. But his wife happened quite suddenly. Yeah. And I said, we just have to remember sometimes that there are younger people out there. I apologise for going down this path, but this young lady on the public transport a week ago. Yeah. That's the tragedy, and that's perspective for us to look at. And so for footballers, you have to try and keep it in perspective. No matter how good or bad your career's been, you've got to take something out of it and see the positive in it, because unless you haven't given it your best shot, unless you've really let yourself down, you should say, well, that's going to help. That is my total platform for the rest of my life. I bust my gut. Maybe it wasn't good enough. The breaks didn't come my way. You can have those chats with your family or your mates over a beer, and you can sook it up occasionally. It's good to do that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But when you wake up in the morning, there's another day to be attacked. So
you're living that dream. You're working out for a living. You kick a footy around an oval. Well, come on. What better way to do?
Being a professional sporting athlete, it's a luxury in life compared to the other lives that other people living around the world.
There's quite a bit of
lucky.
eyes on you and everything else, and you've got the pressure and everything else. But like what you're saying, a lot of times those failures are actually quite positives because you learn so much from them. And I think with footy, one of the things I know a lot of people coming out, they don't realise one of the things that's changed them so much is just the feedback they've been given on a week out basis. You're pretty much judged on everything you do, and you end up learning to get pretty thick skin as far as the way people talk to you and the way they go about your business. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's your job, it's your living, and people are sitting there telling you, you screwed up here, and you have to own up to it. There's no hiding. There's cameras everywhere, and you've got to own up to it. And whatever decisions you make on and off the field, you got to face them.
But you'll be on your own more when you leave footy. You won't get anywhere near as much feedback.
Yeah.
I got called paranoid once because I asked for feedback in the media. Channel 7, which was funny. I thought, okay, I'll just got to balance out how much feedback I want. Just see how do I go. And so you've got to be ready for post life that you're just not going to have that constant attention and that people around you to pick you up and get you through that next phase that you're going through. As I said, it's there are challenges you're going to experience that you haven't yet experienced because you've been in this world, which is unique. But prepare for the fact that you've got 2 feet often they're big.
But you talk about your mentor, man. I know we've talked about Tom's mentor and having people in your life. And you're saying that, I forget his name already, but the guy who had kind of shown you entrepreneurship from day one.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a big deal. Like, it's such an invaluable experience to have someone there who's been through it a bit, and can kind of guide you and walk you through the beginning stages of it. And someone, whenever times are tough, whatever it is, you can always go back and have that chat, and they'll be able to lift you up and help you out. And I think those people were just like, I came here and I remember I didn't know a soul here in Australia. I didn't know a single person. I barely knew what Melbourne was. And I'll walk in and I ended up making some amazing friends who still to this day, support me. And after even a good game, they're coaches at a different club, and they'll sit there and they'll message me after a great game and say, man, how crazy is it to come from where you've come from, and to do what you've been able to do is it's a testament to yourself.
Well, these people won't measure you by your results so much.
No, they measure you by the person you are, and that's something that you always appreciate and you always enjoy after so much of this. Sometimes you might get feedback from fans, wherever it is, and it's an attack on you kind of personally, but it's not really because you're a person who you are. It's just because of the way you played or who you played for, or whatever it may be.
It's a little more superficial.
You have to separate the two.
Which I can understand why this little chat's gone down this direction, because most of all my career was just a mental game. I knew I could, if I chose to. This is going to sound rather arrogant. I knew if I chose to, if I was on my day, I could take control of the game.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get in that headspace as much as I would like. I think most footballers retire saying, I wish I could have been there every week, but it's just the challenge you've got. But when you kick a lot of goals early in your career like I did, and it's a novelty, because back then, Mason, I was the first 6'9" guy to play out of the goal square, and it was it was a bit new to everyone. So I remember a headline, Tom, in my first that year of '84, and I picked it up because we hadn't got newspapers back then. So Dad got the paper and, look at that, on the front page, big fish, next $1 million footballer. Well, next, I don't think there was a first, to be honest, that stage. Or the first million. But I knew I was getting paid $4,000 that year.
Yeah.
But now you walk down the street, and even your friends at school or people you assume you've got money.
Yeah.
Like, because the headline said you're going to be the next $1 million player or something. But I got paid for it. I'm scratching, mate. That's my petrol money just to get the footy club and back that year, sort of thing. So the reality sometimes doesn't match up, with the people's perceptions, sort of thing. So you just got to remember that on the journey. That you just keep it real. And you're only human, so we're all fallible at the end of the day. So it was a real mental game, up and down. It was such a roller coaster. And if Essendon failed, I'm having a conversation with Roger Merritt one day. We were just getting dragged down. And he goes, sick of the big blokes always get pinned for team failure often. It's like, I understand it's like a whinge from a big bloke's perspective, but you stand out so much.
I'm not going to say it's not true.
You've got a benchmark, and Roger and I were having a bitch about it one day, and the next year he was at Brisbane, unfortunately, and you stick it out, but it felt sometimes. And I hope it's not coming across as a complaint or a whinge. It wasn't. I loved my footy career. I had so many great highs and so many great people around it. And perspective, Doc Reed at the moment with what he's going through. These are just beautiful people, and you just want them to live long lives. They deserve to. So it's just keep your chin up, mate, because I wake up healthy and I feel like I've got a day I've got to max out. That's what it's all about.
Well, to kind of shift it slightly, and kind of go back to the business side of things, and probably really contextual for some of the people that are probably listening as well. What do you look for in some of the young people coming out of school, coming out of university, and moving into either your businesses or businesses of others that you know of? What do you look for? What are some of the attributes? What are some of the things that kind of stand out for you personally?
Well, if it's a young person coming into a system, I like to look for young people who enjoy learning, they're prepared to listen. I've got a very quick anecdote. Kevin Sheedy, I'm 15 years old, and I remember at the first training session, I'm standing looking at Kevin Sheedy like he's a god. Right? And he's just a bunch of junior footballers, right? And this is relevant to what I'm talking about. He goes, what's the most important skill in football, boys? I've never forgotten those two questions. And so a few guys put their hand up, and I reckon there's about 8 or 9. She just milked it. We all said, handball, marking, kicking, like all the obvious stuff. He goes, you're not going to get it. We go, okay, we give up. And she said the most important skill in football is listening. Okay, well, and then he explained it, right? So if you're a good listener, you're going to learn. If you learn, you're going to improve. Who knows where your career can go. Logical stuff, right? He said, what's the most important muscle in your body, boys? And we all look at one another and we go, okay, we'll have another crack, and biceps, glutes, lats, and all this stuff. He goes, you're not going to get it. You go, okay, we give up. And he goes, the most important muscle in your body is your tongue. He said, if you want to come to the MCG with me and play in front of big crowds, you're going to have to be heard. So learn to use your tongue on the training track, all right? Voice, I want to hear voice. So listen and voice. I've never forgotten that lesson. So I like young people prepared to speak up and be a part of the conversation. I love young people who listen and are willing to learn. Yep. But people who have young people who just want to integrate themselves into the environment they're in, and not think they're there to make change too quickly, but they're there to learn and to improve themselves. There's going to become a time. There's plenty of time for change. Yeah. But these millennials, Jaden, I'm still trying to work them out, mate.
I like it. Well, it's a good answer, and I'm sure that the millennials would have
maybe they'll be working out. They'll be working you out.
I don't know what listen is. Yeah, I'll sort them out. That's for sure.
Well, Paul, thank you so much for kind of coming on and sharing a bit about your story as we started off a little bit silly, but
thanks for nodding off, mate. I appreciate it.
Ended pretty deep, so I really appreciate it, kind of sharing your story to everyone.
You're going to edit this, surely. This is not. Cut some of that stuff.
We'll see. I'm sure
no, it was great. It was really great to spend time with you. Nice to meet you, Jaden, and Tom of the Phillips family, mate.
There you go.
Pass on my regards. They got me an extra 3 years of my footy career, the boys. And good luck this year, Coxie.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it.
Keep an eye on you, mate. Love you,
big fellas. Got to look after each other.